all profit is value extraction. And that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we've got to get them off welfare.
Last words on my lips. I am a revolutionary, and you're gonna have to keep on saying that.
Hey, welcome to Cars and Comrades, your leftist car podcast. Or it's ours, right? I don't know, whatever.
It's ours, comrade.
You can still say only. We're the only one I'm willing to acknowledge.
Yeah. To paraphrase Lenin, the Anarcho-Tex podcast has sent us a silly podcast. We shall neither print it nor reply to them. But yeah, I don't know. They're dissing the Ford Maverick, and you can go listen to them on your own time. But
we're not going to dignify that with a response. So
you should all listen to them, but don't like it. You should hate it. You can't enjoy yourself when you do it. You
Just listen to their show so that you can fully understand how much better we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't do any leftist infighting like they do.
It's always the anarchists causing the leftist infighting.
But when we were talking off air, we did decide we're all very strict adherents to sandwich cube theory. That's what it's called, right, Brandon?
The cube rule of sandwiches.
Yeah, I'm a convert.
Yeah, we'll link that in the show notes. It's very important leftist theory to understand.
Yeah, I've discovered that I've been a heretic all my life. I've been calling a hot dog a sandwich, and I had no reason to conclude it was anything otherwise. But cube rule has changed that for me. So,
and here we have it. A hot dog is a taco.
I mean, I'm doing my best to educate myself, but there's a lot of theory out there, guys, and I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. I'm working.
Maybe someone needs to put this in like podcast form or an audiobook or something.
I mean, I just learned enchiladas are sushi, so I mean, we all have a lot of growing to do as leftists.
Yeah, but today we're talking about some news stories. Of course, there's always some Elon Musk news, unfortunately. And some other interesting stuff. We're going to talk about Carvana a little bit and some other stuff if we have time. And but I think first we're going to do some Project Car updates.
We're doing a news episode is just code for we forgot to do actual research on something.
Pretty much. But also there's,
it's important.
Stuff happens and we want to talk about it.
Yeah, other justifications for being lazy, for sure. Yeah.
Look, we are applying our leftist politics to the world as it exists today. Specifically for cars and transportation. There's value in it. It's also easier for us to put together an episode.
I just like doing self-deprecating jokes. No, there's absolutely validity in keeping up with the news.
Yeah. This is also an anti-work podcast, so we're going to be as lazy as we can.
Well, I think I'm leaning the hardest into that then.
All right. So I think, Zach, since you were gone last week, it's your turn to do the update. So we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order here.
Hell yeah. My Ranger is back on the road after a very long wait to get a transmission back. Yeah, woohoo. So now I can get rid of it because I fucking hate it. Consequently, if you're looking for a Ford Ranger in the greater Denver metro area, hit me up. I'll sell it to you.
If you're looking for a Ford Ranger in the Denver area, do not contact Zach. You have heard everything wrong with his car.
No, just if this is the one and only episode of our podcast that you've heard, it is in such good condition, dude. It's like the best Ranger.
Well, you fixed everything, right?
Don't listen to the previous episodes. Yeah, I think so. Who knows? I think so. I've thought several times in the past that I had fixed everything, and that turned out to definitely not be the case. So,
I love convincing myself that, like, oh no, I've fixed everything on the car. What else could go wrong? It's all brand new. Yeah, it's never seems to be the case, but I love convincing myself of that.
you should never say that out loud or really even have that thought, because your car is immediately going to be like, all right, bet. I'll show you. I'll show you what could go wrong. Everything all at once is usually what that is. But no, I think last time we talked about it, I had said that I dropped off the transmission to a shop and I was having some issues with them.
That's right.
And I'd honestly love to hear you guys' opinions on this, because it was a weird fucking situation. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel like I handled it as best as I could, but let me just get into it. So, if you'll remember, I had dropped it off at this shop. I didn't know what was wrong with it. I just, let him have it, said, hey, figure out what the fuck's going on. Couldn't really get a hold of him for a while. And when I finally did, the dude was like, yeah, there's like one more box of parts that's going to be delivered tomorrow, and then your transmission will be done. And I was like, fucking what? What parts? What did you order? What's going on? He's like, oh, I ordered everything. Fully rebuilt it, So that's kind of the situation that I was walking into. Was I had no idea what the price was going to be. I had no idea what exactly he had done to the transmission, what the situation was, because like I said, couldn't get a hold of him. And then when I did, he was basically done with it. So I go in there and I'm like, hey, can I talk to the guy who has done the work, who I've been in contact with? Is he here? And the guy at the front was like, yeah, he's in the back. Let me go get him. So he comes out and I'm like, hey, man, so about this transmission, here's the thing. And he's just like, what do you want to pay for it? Immediately. Just, what do you want to pay for it?
Okay,
like,
weird.
Whoa, that's not what this is about, man. I just wanted to talk about the whole situation, And he was like, what do you want to pay? I've seen this before. I know what you're going to do. What do you want to pay for it? And I was like, dude, no. Like that's not what I'm here about. Like, I just want to talk about why, I didn't hear from you this whole time, and like why you just felt the need to go ahead and do all this work.
Maybe this happens to you a lot because you don't tell people what the fuck you're doing.
Exactly.
What the fuck? Yeah, maybe this. Oh boy, maybe you should wonder why this happens to you so often.
Yeah, I've seen this before. There's a reason you've seen it before. It's because you do dumb shit like this. But I did my best to just be like, yo, that's not what this is about. I'm not trying to like come at you. I'm just like, want to talk about this. Because I definitely wasn't expecting to pay for a full rebuild. And he was like, fine, just take it. It's yours. It's your transmission. I don't want to argue. I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to
argue. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, this is the I have never seen this fucking move before. I was fairly convinced that he had just like done this to like try to goad me into paying a lot of money. That seemed like the move. He was like, I'm just going to do all this work, not tell him I'm going to do it, and then he'll be on the hook for the bill. But then no, he's like, no, just take it. I'm not going to argue with you. Just take the transmission. It's yours. I was like, yeah, that's fucked up though. Like, I'm not going to just take it. That feels wrong. And like, I don't know. I would have felt guilty about it. Yeah. I shouldn't have, but like, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So long story short, the total was $2,300 with
ouch.
Yeah.
Free is a way better price. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like,
hold on. I got some questions. So he's like, oh, here's $2,300 worth of work. You know what? I don't want to argue. Why don't you just take it? So, did you fix anything? Are you just telling me this? Who's giving this up? I'm confused.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think that's why. I think he knew he did something wrong, which is why he like didn't want to get into it. Like, he knew he fucked up or like didn't handle the situation well. So he was just like, fuck it. And like, he's just going to take the L on that one. I don't know. I don't want to like psychoanalyze the guy. It's such a weird fucking situation. Anyway, he says $2,300. I'm like, what was the cost of the parts? Like, can I get a breakdown here? They tell me it was like about $750 in parts. The rest was labor. And I was like, yo, I'll pay at least like as much in labor as the parts cost. I feel like that's somewhat fair. Whatever. I don't know. I had reasoning. I'm not sure if it's the most solid reasoning. I gave him $1,500. He gave me the transmission. They made it very clear it has no warranty. So they're not warranting the work at all. So I'm like, fucking whatever, I guess.
Was that because of the price, or they were just like, no, we do not stand by our work?
No, they were like going to warranty it. But no, since there was like a whole fucking thing with the price, they're like, yeah, now you don't get a warranty because of that. So yeah, I don't know. That's the general story here. What do you guys think?
That's a weird one.
Thoughts, questions,
Okay, so,
comments,
like-
concerns?
Not to question you necessarily, but like, have you been riding these guys? And so like you showed up and they're just like, fuck it, we're tired of dealing with you? Like,
Absolutely not. No, I mean, I called them a few times, left a voicemail. Like I said, couldn't get a hold of them. I had like 2 actual on the phone conversations with them, and one of them was them just telling me it's done and ready to be picked up. And I said, do you have a total for it in front of you? And they told me the total price. That was the extent of one of the conversations. The other one was the one and only time I talked to the actual guy doing the work. And that was when he said, you know, oh yeah, I've got one more box of parts and then it's going to be done. And it was a full rebuild.
Yeah. Also, let me do this real quick. So, $750 in parts.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bust out my calculator here because
it was about $1,440 in labor for the $2,300 total.
40. Okay, so I don't know what their labor rate is, but if most shops, pretty common rule of thumb is like $100 per hour for labor.
I had it on the receipt. It was $150 an hour. Was their shop rate?
Ooh,
yeah,
that's steep.
Yeah,
that is real steep. Okay, but let's divide by that. So that's 10 hours of labor roughly.
Yep.
Which I guess isn't that excessive. The labor rate being 150, that's a lot, but I guess everything's expensive these days. I mean, I don't know. They're a transmission shop. Getting a trans in and out of a car. Wait, they didn't even have to... Hold on. You just dropped the transmission off, right?
Yeah. I unloaded it into their shop onto a cart for them.
Look, I'm not a transmission expert, but 10 hours seems like a lot, especially considering they didn't have to do any diagnostics or anything. Not really. They just looked at it and said, yeah, full rebuild. You order all those parts and you just pop them in there. I mean... I don't know. For a transmission shop, that seems excessive.
And here, like...
And it's weird that they were willing to, like, just take it.
Yeah. That's what
very
I
weird.
don't fucking get, man. I've been racking my brain since it happened. I'm like, what the fuck was the idea here? Like, really all I wanted was a diagnosis. Because the truck is probably not... listener, if you're going to buy my truck, don't listen to this part. It's probably not worth much more than $3,000 total. So if they told me from the jump, like, or at any point, like, hey, it looks like it's going to be a full rebuild. This could cost anywhere from, $1,500 to $3,000. Anything. If they would have said anything along those lines, I'd have been like, fuck that. I'll come pick it up. I'll use it as a core.
So when he started copping an attitude with you, was the whole thing that was going on like, listen, I've seen this before. I did a bunch of stuff that you didn't ask for, and then you're going to get pissed off about it?
I don't know. The guy wouldn't fucking talk to me. I don't know what was going on. He just would not talk to me. I was like, can we just talk about this? He's like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm like, bro, I don't want to argue with you either. I just want to talk about this because this is, like, we're both kind of in a fucked up situation now, and I don't like it. So I want to figure this out a little bit. Like, if he would have said, it's $2,300 or get the fuck out, I'd have been like, cool, bro. Like, see you later, man. Sorry about it.
Yeah, keep the trans, bud. Sell it on eBay.
Do whatever you want. It's yours now. Like, I was completely prepared to go in there and him just, like, be, like, hardline, like, no, you're not getting a fucking cent off this transmission. Because I talked with other people about it, and they're like, dude, for, like, maybe $1,600 to $1,800, it might be worth just giving him the money just to have a rebuilt transmission, I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Like, I could probably take that hit and, like, at least I have a rebuilt transmission. It's done. I know the work has been done, so maybe it's worth it. So I went in there thinking, okay, like, maybe we can hash this out. Maybe I could get a few $100 off. Well, I'll be cool. No, he was just like, all or nothing. He didn't want a conversation. He didn't want to talk about what had happened. He was just like, nope, fuck you. Take it. And I was like, I'm more mad about that. I would be way less mad if he was like, fuck you, you're a piece of shit.
No, you'd be more mad about that if that happened. You'd be more mad about that.
Your description just sounds like a tantrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty common to me. Dude, come on. People that own shops, they are the definition of petty bourgeois.
Oh my
I mean,
God. Did
really.
I tell you? Hold on. Sorry to interrupt you, but did I tell you he had Fox News on at full blast the first time I went in there?
Okay, there you go. Everything you need to know.
Yeah. So I was already not super stoked about the situation, but I was like, whatever, man. Like, we can get
That's what
through
you have
this,
to deal
you
with
know?
at these shops. You don't have a
Yeah.
choice. Like when you go to these shops, you're just like, "Yep, I'm dealing with some fucking Fox News brain rotted moron." Like,
Yeah.
there's no way around it.
I love this. I'm thinking about this in terms of like other businesses, and imagine that like you went into a restaurant and like they brought you a menu, and then a few minutes later the server comes back and you're like, "Oh, I'm ready to order," and they're like, "What are you talking about? Your food's going to be out any second."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, also, it's $1,000 worth of food. You ordered everything on the menu. How about that? Did you know that? That's actually what you needed. was
And you're
one
like,
of everything.
"Why would you do that?" And they're like, "You just looked hungry."
I've seen it before.
I've
I
seen
can
this
see it in your
before.
eyes.
I guess you don't want to pay for everybody's meal in the restaurant, huh?
And then they're like, fine, everything is free and you own the restaurant now. Congratulations. Yeah, the whole situation, it's like, it's so absurd. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if I should even bother thinking about it because it's so like...
No, here, you did the right thing. You didn't
I have
take it
no
for
idea.
free, which would be admittedly unfair. Okay,
Yeah,
we can all
exactly.
agree. But you did pay for their parts, and you paid for a good chunk of their labor, a reasonable price.
Yeah, I think so.
You met your obligation. Yeah, you didn't get a warranty, but like those warranties, what the fuck you really like? Come on, you think it ain't worth shit anyway.
Exactly.
It's got new parts. It's as good as it gets. It's one of those situations where like, dude, if you had told me it needed a full rebuild, I would have driven to the fucking junkyard and just gotten another transmission.
Exactly. And I could have had it back on the road with, at least a functional transmission in it a month earlier.
Yeah.
Like,
so no,
really, this could have taken way less time, but yeah.
You were right. This guy's fuck up led to you paying a reasonable price for a nicely built transmission. Hopefully nicely built.
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly thought so. He thought he was, king of shit mountain.
Well, yeah, at
Okay.
$150 a fucking hour labor rate, yeah, his work better be real fucking good.
Exactly.
No, you did the right thing.
Even if this guy's being a piece of shit, I'm reluctant to criticize like hourly rates at a shop right now because how many times lately have I said the cost of everything's going up? That means labor too.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I mean, yes, you're absolutely right about that, and I don't want to seem like I'm arguing against that. This guy was the owner of the shop who did the work, and he has 2 race cars that he bragged about to me the first time I met him, and saying that, if I did something when I installed the transmission that fucked it up, he'd be more than happy to take my money to fix it because his race cars needed to be fed. So I don't think he really needed to skyrocket his labor costs. But,
the caveat there is like, how much is he paying his people?
Yeah,
exactly.
it's almost,
If they're out there making $16 an hour, then this dude can go fuck himself.
Exactly. I thought about it. Of course, you have the best thoughts.
if they're making $30 an hour, this guy can go fuck himself too.
Yeah, exactly. You always have the best thoughts the next day. But I told somebody, I was like, I should have asked the guy at the front because I didn't deal with him after this at all. I paid someone else. Like, it was a completely different person, I should have asked that guy what he made an hour and calculated labor based on that. And been like, cool, I'm paying for labor what you get paid an hour. But, of course you think about that later, not in the moment.
Yeah. No, I think you handled it the best way you could. That's a fucking weirdo situation.
That's so weird.
So bizarre. So bizarre.
I feel like any big job at any shop always winds up being weird like this. Like, it never goes smoothly. And you're always in this position where you're like, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
I don't think I would have felt comfortable taking it for free either, but I do hypothetically just wish you had done that just so that you could describe his face to us.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of wish that as well.
Like, imagine if this motherfucker like flies off the handles and starts running his mouth and it's like, fuck it, I've seen this before, you can just take it, I don't care, just take it. And you were like, oh, okay, and just walked out with it.
Yeah.
He would have called the cops on you if that happened.
Yeah, 100%. I would be no longer on this podcast and probably in the ground. Because,
Well, no, you could still, Zach. You could
You
still
had
be
a
on the
verbal
podcast.
agreement on the price.
which was 0, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, can you prove it? No, Zach, you'd still be on the podcast, but our podcast would be interrupted every once in a while from, this is a call from XYZ jail.
Yeah, guys, I haven't done anything on my project car this week because I'm in jail.
Oh, I'm almost out of time. Elon Musk's a bitch. Goodbye, guys.
Yo, the companies who do like the jail phone system, like they're a huge scam. We'd have to start a Patreon just to pay for Zach's phone calls to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, well, I managed to stay out of jail, so that's good. And now I have a running truck. So also
right.
good, I guess. I think that's the extent of my updates. I
That's-
appreciate
that's
you
a-
guys validating my decisions, because, yeah, I've felt weird about it ever since.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a weird
That's just
situation.
such a weird situation. I have a couple of thoughts on that. Like, I wonder if that was just like something that he heard from like Tucker Carlson or like Greg Gutfeld. It's like, this is how you you deal with difficult customers. Like, kind of like that weird like boomer shit where it's like you just gotta like to get a job, you just gotta look them in the eye and give them a firm handshake and hand them your resume, and that's what I did, and I am the CEO now or whatever.
Yeah.
The other thought was like, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit neurodivergent myself, but like it reminds me of some of the stories that like autistic people have of like dealing with normies that like they violate some unwritten social faux pas or whatever, and then like people get mad at them and they're like, what the hell, what did I do, but you violated the weird Fox News watching mechanic rule that no one else knows about.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe I did. I've long thought that I could be on the spectrum to some degree. So, I mean, possibly. Also, he was talking for a really long time the first time I went in there about like all these cars that he's owned. And I definitely like zoned out and looked at the ceiling tile for like, I don't know how long. Could have been 5 minutes, could have been 20. I don't know. It felt like a lifetime. So maybe he just didn't like me from the jump, but I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I did something weird and I just don't realize it. And he was just mad at me from the beginning. Who knows?
I recently had somebody ask me if they thought I could possibly be on the spectrum, and my response was like, no, because 80% of the time when I pissed someone off, it was because I didn't like them and I was doing that on purpose. Well, does that make it Connor's turn?
Yep. All right. Well, so I have been up to a little bit lately. Last weekend, I finally used some of my tools, and I did a very basic oil change on the Z, which was not the best. I don't know. I did the oil change, and what I got out of that engine was not the amount of oil that I was hoping to get out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I was like, so I can't remember. I could swear that I had the oil changed at some point between whatever. There's a sticker on the window that says late October, and it's got the mileage, and it's like 6,000 miles. Now that's perfectly acceptable and normal, but I prefer to change it a little bit sooner than that, even though the oil can obviously take it. But I could swear that I had asked my guy to, because it was in there obviously multiple times. It's been in every shop, And I think one of the times I was like, oh, hey, yeah, if you could just change the oil too, fuck it. So I thought it had been changed since then, and it might have, and maybe he forgot to do the sticker, or maybe it hasn't been done, and whatever. It is still an acceptable amount to go 6,000 miles with, proper full synthetic and everything, but that's a lot. Not a lot, but that's further than I would have wanted to go. So anyway, I don't know if that's how far it actually went or not. Doesn't really matter that much. But when I emptied the oil, I had about 3.5 quarts in there. So I was like, ugh, that's not good. because my capacity, this factory capacity is 5 quarts, and I have a bigger oil pan, so it allows a total of 6 quarts. So yeah, I felt real bad because the night before that oil change was like one of the first times I was actually like driving the car kind of hard. So yeah, so not great.
Is there any indication that you're losing the oil somewhere, or was it just
No,
not filled up?
that's the thing. As far as I can tell, I am not burning oil and I'm not leaking oil, as far as I can tell. So I don't know what would have caused that. Like it definitely did not go more than 6,000 miles. It's not one of those cases where it's like, oh, I thought I did an oil change, but actually it's been 10,000 miles. No, it hasn't been. So and it's a new motor, so like it shouldn't be leaking anywhere. It shouldn't be doing whatever. So yeah, I don't know, but that was not the result I was hoping for. Obviously, it's driving fine. It's doing okay. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. But it's definitely something I have to keep an eye on now, specifically. Like I wasn't really, being like keeping a hawk eye on it. But like now I'm like, all right, I got to watch this for sure and make sure that there's not something happening. So who knows? That could be an indication that there's something wrong, or maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that was a little concerning. But aside from being mildly concerned about my car, this past Friday, I decided to go to a drift event and really beat the shit out of it. So yeah, so I got to do that. It was fun. It was a Friday night event, which is tough to do. You gotta leave the area kind of early. It starts at like 5, and I got there like close to 6 or something because I happened to work a little overtime one day, and then I was able to leave a little bit early. But yeah, I got up there and I went drifting a little bit. I'm very much rusty, but
Everything I own's rusty. It's fine.
Well, and the track started out really wet, so like it was sunny the whole time, but like it was also like raining most of the time, so the track gets really really slick. So like I had to baby it for a couple hours of. This is like the first time I've really drifted in a while, and it was just like as soon as I would initiate, I would spin immediately. It was like, fuck, I tried everything. I tried a light clutch kick, spin. I tried pulling the handbrake lightly, spin. I was like, what the fuck, man? So I had to like really go easy on it. I was trying not to like go above 5,000 RPM or nothing. So I finally started to like kind of get the hang of it, and the track started to dry up a little bit. And I started getting closer and closer to doing a clean lap, which they run kind of a tough layout for the track on Fridays. Like it is meant to be a bit challenging to hold the slide as far as you need to. So like it was challenging. I got closer and closer to a clean lap, and then I was like, oh, I should probably like stop for a little bit and like film some of the cars and stuff, because like I can't film myself drifting, but like I can get video of some other cars drifting. Like that would be cool. So I did that, which means I got out of line, whatever. So that was like cost me like a half an hour, which is fine. I had all the time in the world as far as I was concerned. So then I get back in line, and when I did, the track had dried. So all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, this is a very different track. So I went out and I was like, oh boy, this is totally different. So I started to attack it dry, and it was it was very challenging, So it was hard. I was getting closer and closer to getting like taking the proper line, but like you do have to carry a lot of speed, and I was not very confident, so I did not have a lot of speed because I was being a baby. But in my defense, it's my daily driver, and if I crash it, like it's gonna be real expensive for me. So. But I got to drift, so it was good.
Yeah, that's cool. Was it like a competitive event, or was it just for fun, basically?
Yeah, it's just for fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just for
Nice.
fun. Competing is like, believe me, you're the shit if you're competing and drifting. Like, it's yeah, you got to be pretty fucking good to do that. And like I said, I'm very rusty. Even at my best, I was like not ready for competition. So yeah, but it was fun.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's one of those like you show up, you pay $50, and you can drive as much as you want. So it was definitely a good time.
That sounds rad.
Yeah, that
It was
sounds fun
fun.
as hell.
It's great.
Yeah. Any other cars out there that were really impressive?
Yeah, actually, so most of the cars were struggling, especially when it was wet, because like everyone was spinning. So I didn't like feel like I was doing that poorly. Although even if I was, it would be understandable. But everyone was struggling when it was wet, and then when it started to dry up, I mean, there are some cars that are like really fucking built there. Like there was a Fox body that was just sounded rowdy as hell, and had
That's awesome.
like clearly had some serious power to it. And then there was an LS Swap 240 that was like killing it out there. I think that one was probably the best car out there, and he could basically do the course layout properly. But like even the best guys that were out there were like, it's not an easy layout for them either. So like that just goes to show like it is the course layout they're doing at these events is kind of a challenge for on purpose. So like the fact that I was anywhere near it was like, okay, cool. But I wouldn't mind doing some. They have events on Tuesday nights too, which is fucking hard to get out to, obviously in the middle of the week. But I've heard allegedly they run a simpler layout on Tuesdays, which might be good for me to just get like some basic practice, because sometimes you don't want to like challenge yourself too much. Like if you're trying to like do this like hard line to hit, there's value in doing it, but like sometimes it's like you just got to do some figure eights and like get the feel of the fucking car, figure out exactly how far is too far before you spin. Okay, go wide, go shallow, like just learn how to feel the car again. Whereas when you do a tough layout, like you're kind of trying to hit this layout, and it can get in the way of like just the fundamentals. So, but it's fun to do anyway.
So I've never been to any kind of like grassroots drift event at all, but like how big of a deal is it to slide? Like how is it set up? I'm assuming they just kind of stagger each person and you kind of have the track or the course to yourself.
Yep. Yeah, it depends. Unless you want to run tandems with people.
Right. But that's like everybody's kind of all decided, hey, we're all going to go together. Is that kind of the vibe?
No,
Or...
so like if you want to go tandem, I actually don't know for these events if they have any particular rules about tandem. I know I didn't really see anybody doing tandems at this event, but usually it's just like you'll stick your hand out the window and the lead car will, put up 2 or 3 fingers or 4 fingers for however many people are going. And as long as the spotters like no, they'll just be like, all right, go. And then you'll just go usually with people are good.
Right.
So yeah, I have done tandem in the past a little bit, and it's good. I'm not at that point right now, but yeah, if you want to do tandem, you just kind of do it. But everybody at this event was going solo, so
Cool. Yeah, so it's not like you're gonna be out there on the track and like all of a sudden there's another car on your door and then you slide and whoops, like
yeah, unless
you
you
know.
want to do that, which
Right.
trust me, there's a whole different adrenaline rush when you're doing that.
Yeah.
But no, if you don't want to do that, you are just out there practicing for yourself, and that's great.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I've definitely, the more I look at drifting, the more I want to get into it. But that's one of those things where I don't think that I could have just one car that was a drift car, just due to the being in Colorado. I kind of have to have something with 4 or all-wheel drive
Yeah.
as a daily, so I'd have to have a second car, and I already have 3 cars, and so yeah, that's definitely been on
if
my
you
mind.
sold,
but-
so if you sold a couple of them, I'm just saying
Yeah,
you could do
yeah.
it. Look, here's what I will say: if you're a listener too, if you go to a drift event, like a grassroots drift event, they're in your area. I fucking promise you, and you might have to drive a couple hours or something, but like they are around. If you find a drift event and you go, seeing it in person is very different. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I went and I saw an event in person, and that's what got me into it. Like I was like, oh yeah, sure, that seems cool, whatever. I saw it in person. I was like, okay, well, now I have to go buy a drift car. And I did. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to drift it. I'm going to be responsible. And then I drifted it immediately. Crashed it immediately, too. So, yeah, if you go and see it, like, seeing it in person is just like, holy shit. And a lot of times you can do ride-alongs with people. Like, you can just get into people's cars and, ride with them. And that shit will change your life. So,
Connor, I have an important question.
yeah.
Have you ever seen a drift van?
I have seen videos of people drifting vans here and there, but they are extraordinarily rare.
I hear you. I should
And
start a drift van. Gotcha.
You should start a drift van. I think that
What I
would be
really
shit.
need in life is more projects.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to do it like would you do it like a Japanese Dajiban, where they get like a Dodge van from the 90s or whatever?
Well, when I actually asked, one of my first thoughts was like, did those guys drift, or were they just doing like a more straightforward racing? Because I
In
can't
Japan,
remember.
no, they actually do drift them, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. But I do know the phenomenon you're talking about. I just didn't know what type of racing they did.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know, dude. Y'all know me. I'd put together some sort of death trap and just try and fucking die. I don't know.
Dude, it'd be fun, dude. Yeah, you'd love it.
I would fully build like an early Chevy to do that, which is just a death trap from the get go, and be like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do this.
Yeah, you can do it.
Man, I wonder how well those things would drift. Just like, assuming you put, the necessary things to drift in there, like, an e-brake that you could actuate with your hand, but nothing else, just live rear axle, one wheel wonders.
Okay, no,
that
wouldn't work. You gotta have a lock and diff.
Well, yeah, okay. So weld the diff or whatever. Get an e-brake in there that you can actually grab and not like. I'm assuming those old Chevys had the foot e-brake off on the
Actually,
left
they
side.
don't.
No.
Nope. It is a weird handle that is mounted onto the front of the doghouse.
Okay.
So it's actually closer to the kind of brake that you would run in a drift car than what you're thinking of.
Yeah, you could very easily. You could run a hydraulic handbrake in pretty much anything. Like you could just splice into the lines and done.
Right.
So
I'm just thinking,
doable.
minimal modification. Like you're right on top of the engine. It's just as stock as possible, but still at least able to do a drift. How would it do? With like
Okay,
weight
so I've
distribution
never
and everything.
I used to make a pretty routine thing out. Like, there's a couple of like hairpin turns in my neighborhood that when I had my early Chevy on the road, I would ask like, I don't really know the specifics of like how drift racing happens, but a lot of times if I like just felt like going through the turn too fast, I would just floor it so that I broke my rear tires free and slide through the turn.
Fucking awesome. That's so fucking cool.
And like I was familiar enough and comfortable enough with that van. Like it wasn't super easy because I had that van sitting on big tires and it was like the center of gravity was very high. But like, yeah, no, I would slide through turns in that thing all the fucking time. I've done it in front of the cops. Fuck them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the key would be lowering the center of gravity as much as possible. You'd want to lower it considerably and probably add some weight onto the floor. Because you would not want to, flip.
If I had to speculate a big issue I would encounter, it's that all early vans are solid front axle.
Yeah.
I think you can make that work. You
Yeah?
might have to like heat it up and bend it like an early Ford axle.
Wait, what do you mean? To lower it?
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking about handling on the track. Like, I can lower it. I know how to do that shit. Just, I would probably just have to convert it to IFS.
Well, and just to get the right geometry too. Because you want to have different camber, right, for a drift car?
Yeah, you don't need it.
Okay.
You look, you can get by with very little.
Honestly, I think if I showed up to a drift event in a 69 Chevy van, I could be the slowest thing there by a minute and people would still be kind of stoked about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to see that shit. You'd be internet famous immediately, by the way. Like, people would be like, oh, fuck. Those phones would come out real quick, man.
Oh yeah. I mean this in like the most respectful way. Like it's kind of like seeing like a heavier set guy do like a backflip on the ground, or like a big dude just just backflips out of nowhere, and you're like, that shouldn't be possible. I feel like that would be like seeing a van drift. You're just like, nope, that's not physically possible, but I'm watching it, and
Yeah.
that's just fucking cool as hell.
Okay, I hear what you guys are saying. I'm going to factor this in, and the next time I start a project, maybe it'll be a drift car van.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Likelihood low. Possibility, sure.
I'm here for it.
I mean, I got enough spare early vans. I'd do something.
But anyway, that's all I got. So I think that means Bryant's next.
All right. Well, I've been pretty busy, but I'll try and keep this kind of brief. I do have to give the Anarchotex podcast credit for educating me a little bit about motor oil, because that encouraged my laziness. Since I have synthetic oil in my MR2, I'm just going to let it go for until about 6,000 miles probably before I change it. So
Yeah,
that gives me
probably better.
another at least week or two before I really need to do an oil change.
Oh boy.
So because I think I don't know, probably longer than that. It's at around 5,000 right now.
Oh yeah, you got some time.
But what was I going to say? So I got my exhaust back on the Subaru, and that's all buttoned up. But then I decided, while I'm in there, I might as well. Well, it has nothing to do with the exhaust, but I had the AC lines, replacement ones from the junkyard. So I'm in the middle of tearing that out and replacing those. It's not all that difficult. I just had to take the intercooler off. But I also was putting the snow tires, or I was taking the snow tires off and putting on the regular tires, and one of the lug nuts was being a little bit stubborn, and it's like, oh, this is not coming off as easy as the other ones, and then that's because it was stripped. So yeah, the wheel stud and the lug nut itself were both kaput. So I had to, hammer out the old one and finagle the new one in there. I had to take part of the parking brake mechanism out, and the ABS sensor ring, and a bunch of other stuff to get the get the wheel stud out and replaced. But I got that fixed. And one thing I was reading about is, I guess Subarus, for whatever reason, have a 1.25 thread pitch, whereas most Japanese cars have a 1.5. And the 1.25 is in theory stronger, but they tend to strip out more because they have more surface area of threads in contact or something like that. I'm not really sure. Or they're easier to cross thread or something. But this is the second wheel stud I've had to replace on that car. The first time it was because I took it to a tire shop at 4 p.m. on a Friday, and they just didn't give a shit.
Oh no, they don't give a shit at any time, by the way. They don't give a shit at any time. Yeah, don't worry about that.
They give zero shits most of the time. 4 p.m. on a Friday, you're into negative shits. They're like actively trying to harm your car, because it's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, this was the cheapest tire shop on South Federal in Denver. So you get what you pay for. But I guess also I went to the 24 Hours of Lemons race out east, and I just hung out and partied with those guys. I didn't record anything like I did last time. But yeah, it was good to see some of the people that I hadn't seen in a year or two.
I feel like it's hard to record, like out at like events and stuff. I've thought about trying to do that, and I was just like, nah, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
it's hard.
I feel like it would almost be less awkward if you were to take video.
Yeah,
like just recording audio is a little weird. But everybody and their brother has a YouTube channel when it comes to cars. So people would be, I think, a little more accepting if you're like, I have a podcast. Do you want to talk into this microphone real quick?
Yeah.
Be like, no, leave me alone.
Yeah, that was kind of the consensus in September last year. So
yeah.
But I did take a few photos, and I put that on our social media, so you can scroll back through that and find them. And I also went and rode the Denver trolley, which is basically like an old public transit tram that they've restored, and they run it back and forth on like a mile and a half long track, sort of down by the river, sort of between REI and Mile High Stadium, or whatever it's called these days. I forget. And yeah, it was kind of cool. I did record audio of the tour guide giving his spiel, so I haven't
cool.
listened back to the audio on that. But if it came through, I'll put it out as like a bonus episode.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Public transport is cool.
Yeah. I mean, it is really just a tourist attraction at this point. It's not connected to anything, except on Broncos game days, it runs basically as a shuttle between parking lots.
I mean, at least that's somewhat useful.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about all I've been up to this week. And Brandon, I think it's your turn.
All right. I actually had a pretty busy couple of weeks, and it's been a nightmare. Well, okay, so we'll start with the good, because there was a domino effect. I think I talked about before how I was planning on not using the patch panels for my early Chevy that couldn't be purchased again, and using them more as a form.
Yup.
That's going surprisingly well, especially since like I keep ordering fabrication tools, and then they like turn out to be back ordered, or like the order didn't get processed properly or something. So I've literally been doing 100% of this with hammer and dolly.
Oh my.
Which is a real pain in the fucking ass. But there's some good YouTube channels out there to learn, so I just am trying to like learn to do new stuff. And I should have one cab corner done. Well, it would already be done, except we're going to get to that. But I've got a lot of it tacked in and together, and it's kind of coming together nicely. I think the next side is going to be a lot easier, because the second time's always a lot easier. So
nice.
Probably like snap some pictures, and maybe I'll throw something up online, just because it doesn't look great, but I'm still kind of proud of myself because it doesn't look bad, and all I've got's hammers.
Hell yeah.
So let's see, like it was, I forget what day it was that I got a big chunk of that like welded in. I was really happy. The next day I show up, and the brakes on my Ford are being a little bit spotty, and the working theory was that probably the brake fluid was so old that it had gotten water in it, because brake fluid's hygroscopic. It will absorb moisture and cause problems. And what was happening was my brakes were getting, one of my drums would lock up almost immediately upon applying the brakes on hot days. So the theory was there was water in that line that was expanding on hot days and causing that brake to. So, I get to the shop. I'm in a good mood. I've gotten stuff done. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to flush the rear brake lines. Simple enough, right?
Sure.
I got debris in my master cylinder.
Uh-oh.
Clogged up the rear brake circuit so that I couldn't get fluid through it at all. And by the time, so I had to remove the master cylinder, which I had tried to bleed the front brakes earlier, but realized that the bleeder screws are extremely, extremely difficult to get to.
Really?
So dude, the front drums, like, because of like, what's that?
Where is the bleeder even on that?
It's the same way as it would be on like a solid rear axle, except that there's like brackets around it, and you can't come at it straight in because the kingpin for the front axle is in the way.
I can't even visualize because I've always, every car I've had, even with a solid rear axle, had calipers in the rear. So
okay.
I can't even imagine where you would bleed drum brakes from. I've never done it.
Well, the wheel cylinder that like actuates the brake shoes, there's a bleeder screw right in there. It's when there's nothing else in the area, like on a rear, it's incredibly easy.
Gotcha.
I did figure out how to do the fronts. We'll get to that, because I had to pull the master cylinder to be able to get the debris out of it, which obviously introduced air into the front brake line, and I was hoping that I would be able to like kind of bleed it from the master itself. I actually had a pretty good technique going, but it just didn't pan out. But yeah, while getting debris out of the master cylinder, I destroyed all the seals in the master cylinder.
Naturally.
and had to just replace the whole thing. Fortunately, these master cylinders are not all that expensive or hard to find. Unfortunately, easy to find does not mean in stock anywhere in the region. So it took me 4 days to get the master cylinder in. I didn't immediately go try and replace it, but yesterday I was supposed to go camping, and so I was just like, well, it's time to get up early and go put the master cylinder in. And it went in with pretty mild like inconveniences, but nothing major. You know, the kind of stuff that you're used to having happen to you every time you turn a wrench on your car.
Yeah.
Got the rear bled after a fucking kind of a lot of effort. Because even the best vacuum brake bleeder I can find still fucking doesn't suck. But yeah, so like I had to figure out how to get to the front bleeders because after a test drive, I realized that I was probably operating with like 50 to 60% braking power. Like 10 miles an hour, if I applied the brakes as hard as I couldn't even get them to lock up.
Oof.
Jesus.
So I like pulled everything apart in the front wheels, figured out how to get to the bleeder screw, and actually like once I figured it out, it wasn't too bad. My bleeder screws are as seized up as I could ever fucking possibly imagine something being seized. I put a torch to it and PB Blaster just back and forth for an hour. I probably hit it with the torch 4 times, just blasting PB Blaster on it every time I put heat to it. And all that I ended up with was a bleeder screw that was completely rounded off. Vice grips, nothing. If anybody has a really good technique for getting this shit out, I am all ears. Hopefully I'll have it fixed before this even comes out. Like tomorrow I'm just planning on brazing nuts to the bleeder screw so that maybe I can like get actual leverage on it. I don't know. But since the Ford was down, I had to like my Chevy's been off the road for about 3 or 4 weeks because I just never got around to fixing the fairly minor problems with it, which when they just sit seem to accumulate. So my battery bit the dust, so I had to put a new battery in it, and then I had to track down an aftermarket fuel pump that I could throw in it like same day because I was without vehicle. And it kind of motivated me. I did end up getting the fuel pump going. I like had to fuck with the Chevy a little bit to get it back on the road. Now it's back on the road and it's running good, but the thing really shouldn't be on the road right now, like in the sense that I should take it off to do a bunch of like necessary maintenance and repairs before I let things get like worse than they already are. Like there's a lot of rust in the body that I could prevent from becoming worse right now. But it motivated me because I have 3 vehicles that ostensibly are functional vehicles that with mild maintenance I can keep on the road. But instead, I ignored 2 of them until the 3rd one broke down. So I'm going to spend the next week getting everything running and back on the road so that whatever happens, I have a backup or 2.
Yeah. Or 2 is a good, really good
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah, but problems have a tendency to, domino. So all the Cutlass needs is new tires because I have a spare on there right now, which doesn't match the other rear, and just it's drivable, but it's not a good idea the way it is right now. So I'm gonna fix all that shit, and hopefully I'll have the brakes back together on the Ford, and they'll stop being like the biggest hurdle for me driving the Ford lately has been that on any day above like 70, 75 degrees, which are becoming pretty frequent, I would lose a lot of braking power because 3 of the brakes would barely be actuated, and 1 of them would be skidding to a stop. I've actually had 3 narrow misses because of my poor brakes. So, actually, what caused me to decide to bleed them was that one of the near misses was on the way to my shop. I almost rear-ended someone because I couldn't stop fast enough. And came within 2 feet or so. And immediately got to my shop like 5 minutes later and started draining my brake lines. Because if that's not the problem, I need to figure out what the actual problem is, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's no way to be driving around. That's terrifying.
Well, I mean, the van's so fucking slow that most of the time it's not a real issue because I'm not going fast enough for it to be a problem. But it was one of those situations where, like, somebody like swerved in front of me and then had to slam on their brakes. And it wasn't even a cut me off situation. It was just too close for my old ass vehicle with shitty brakes. So yeah, I just decided that enough was enough. And if this doesn't sort itself out soon, dude, I'm just ordering the front disc conversion. Fuck all this.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but that's it. So a bunch of body work, a bunch of brake work, fuel pump, battery, some electrical stuff, and so hopefully some new tires here soon.
Cool.
Oh, there you have it.
Yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah.
Well, all right, probably time for some news. Boopity boop boopity boop 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 boopity boop 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 boop. Breaking news. That's the part of the show we're at. We're at the breaking news part. Boop boopity boop boop boopity boop boop. This is Cars and Comrades with your car news updates. Boop 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 boop.
All right, it's time for the news. And I know I said I don't really like talking about Elon Musk, but he keeps talking about himself and doing dumb shit, so we do have to cover him a little bit.
Yeah, no, as a leftist car podcast, we really don't have a choice. It's kind of a curse, really.
Yeah.
Really, as a leftist in general, there's just so much to say about him.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'll try and keep it a little bit brief here. There's a lot, but
There's like 8 stories, though, so
yeah.
we'll keep them brief, but like, fuck.
And other podcasts have covered this before us or done a better job of it, but we'll hit the highlights here. I guess first thing is, it came out that he's a creepy sex pest and was hitting on a flight attendant in a very weird way, which, big surprise. But
Yeah, never would have guessed.
The only way that when you have a lot of money and no charisma, you offer to pay them to have sex with you.
Yeah.
Or buy them a horse.
Yeah, I was going to say, not only did he offer to pay her, he offered her a horse, which is so weird.
Yeah,
And
that is a move.
If someone doesn't already know the story, this was an employee of Musk, of course. Someone he's got power over, naturally, so...
The funniest thing to me is that he came out and made whatever insane announcement about how fuck the Democrats and he's a Republican now or whatever. And I think that was the same time when he announced that he was going to be creating an entire legal team for dealing with whatever certain types of issues. And somebody immediately was like, well, he's trying to get out in front of something. And lo and behold, that evening, this accusation comes out. So
No, the actual thing was like he says like, oh, of course, I expect the Democrats to run a smear campaign on me or something. Now, this tweet came out in like the afternoon. It was like 2 p.m. or something. At 9 a.m., he had been asked for comment on this upcoming story about this fucking sexual assault or harassment scandal. And so by the afternoon, he was like, I'm a Republican and the Democrats are going to smear me. And then the story comes out like a couple hours later. So, yeah, he literally knew that the story was coming and he was just like, okay, well, I'm a Republican now.
Yeah.
There's too much to say about that is all just so self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's kind of just funny and dumb, but he got into a Twitter fight with AOC, and now she's saying that she's gonna sell her Tesla and buy a union-made electric car, which I'm not sure if there are any, but
Yeah, but if there are, that's actually kind of cool.
Wait, is there not isn't the UAW still a thing?
I mean, yeah, but there's a lot of plants that they do not cover. Like, I think a lot of the Japanese automakers are not non-union. I think I'm not even sure, but as we've discussed, the UAW just doesn't do enough to for us to even know what they do necessarily. So
this is the first time I've heard about this. Do you have any podcast recommendations about the UAW? I would like 5 episodes minimum.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah. Well, I think the real story is that Teslas are dangerous death traps and no one should buy one.
Oh yeah, that covers about 3 of the stories that we have as sources, doesn't it?
Yeah. So not only in some of the models they have mechanical door locks in the front seats, so that if there's a dead battery, you can still unlock the door and get out. The Model 3 does not have that in the back seat.
Well,
So
I mean,
if you
look, if you have kids, I mean, sometimes there's a good way to get out of that situation, if you know what I mean.
yeah. Yeah, and on the Model S in the back seat, you have to undo a speaker grill and pull. Oh no, excuse me. That's on the Model X. You have to undo the speaker grill, and then it has those weird like gullwing doors that you have to push up and out of the way.
Which, why is it that they're all different?
Yeah,
I mean, like I love people are like, oh, he's a genius innovator, and you're just like, why can't the manual door unlock thing be a standard system that's on every car? Like,
yeah.
why would they be different? Oh, this one you got to move the speaker grill, and then the other one is totally. It's like, why? Just what a moron. Just
everyone knows that standardization isn't innovative. So if you're an innovator, you have to make everything different constantly. And if you standardize things, you're an authoritarian communist. Everyone knows that.
I love when I have to get online to like look up how to open my car door when my car's on fire.
Yeah, that's great. And then you get a 30-second unskippable ad on YouTube. So the sounds of you burning alive are just like, you could save with Liberty Mutual. It's like, oh God, my skin's on fire. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh my God.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That was bleak. It's too bleak. Is that too dark? I'll reel it back in.
Yeah.
Sorry. If you don't like your children, buy a Tesla.
Jesus Christ. That's I think that's the late term abortion Republicans have been fear mongering about.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't get the abortion because it's illegal, you could give birth and then just put it in a Tesla and then boom, problem solved.
Turn the autopilot on.
Oh my God.
Just convince your Tesla that they're a road worker.
Or an ambulance.
Which should get us to the next portion of this story where what do Teslas keep hitting, Bryant?
Emergency vehicles, for the most part. Yeah. Over a dozen of these crashes that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is investigating over a period of 4 years. And one of the things that they've found, and that they're probably going to do a recall for the Autopilot feature, is that it seems that if a Tesla senses that it's about to get into an accident, it turns off the autopilot and just goes to full manual control. So that the driver is at fault and it's not Tesla's autopilot that actually gets in the crash. So yeah, I don't know if this is a really solid way of avoiding liability, but they're trying.
Oh, it is.
And
it's worked. It has worked. Right? Look at how much money he has. It's worked.
Yeah.
But
this
it's
is
like
the first time I've ever wanted autopilot, though, because this has just given me the idea that if I'm about to get into an accident, I just turn the autopilot on real quick.
Yeah, I feel like this is the dog ate my homework of vehicle crashes. Oh no, the autopilot was off. See, which I don't know, Bryant. Were there any like particularly relevant parts of that article that we could read? Because I just think that that's probably one of the most egregious things I've heard in a long time.
I just closed the window because it was slowing down the software here. But let me see if I can find it again.
Because I mean, this is an open investigation, which I think there's several other investigations. Like the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has, I think, a couple of ongoing probes with Tesla because obviously they're pieces of shit. And by the way, if our listeners are interested, there's a documentary that came out recently. I think it's on I think it was on Hulu or shit. Now I can't remember, but it was about the autopilot, and man, yeah, I mean, we all know that Elon Musk is a fucking scam artist and whatever, but like, holy shit. So this
The only autopilot that I support is Otto, the school bus driver from The Simpsons.
What about the inflatable guy from the movie Airplane?
Was his name Otto?
Yeah.
Okay, 2. There are acceptable autopilots. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, yep. So there you go.
Wait, and hold on. I'm gonna find this real quick.
Well, while you're doing
okay,
that, I'll
go
say there have been 15 injuries and 1 death during this time period, and there's also something they're investigating called phantom braking, where basically the autopilot will slam on the brakes, and just when there's nothing in front of the car at all, and people have theorized that this is like their shitty like computer vision system just seeing like a cloud or a shadow or whatever, and slamming on the brakes because they think
Yep.
it's a car.
Yep.
I heard an interview with Steve Wozniak, the guy from Apple Computer, because he has a Tesla, but he's selling it because of this reason, that along a route that he would regularly drive, it would just slam on the brakes at this one point, and he couldn't figure out any reason why. So he's getting one of those new Lucid electric cars instead.
Much
Okay,
better.
I'm going to speculate about what this could mean. If they're slamming on the brakes when they just see nothing in front of them, then maybe Autopilot is smart enough that it has the same fear of the void that humans do.
or maybe it can see ghosts or something.
Yeah.
Worst horror movie concept ever.
It's trying to avoid the ghosts of all the people who have burned alive in Teslas.
By the way, that documentary I was talking about, it's called Elon Musk's Crash Course, which is produced by the New York Times, but it was good, actually. They go into detail about how the self-driving technology works and like why it's a piece of shit, and like why we're using visual cameras and actually most of these cameras aren't on, and how they have massive blind spots, and we're not using LiDAR or anything like that. We're just and how it's never coming out. It's just watch it. It's good. This guy is such a charlatan, and it's caused people to die. And, people just worship this guy like he's some kind of genius, even though there is literally no evidence to support that crazy assertion. So
Yeah.
definitely worth watching. And yeah, this autopilot stuff, they don't touch on this. Like, this again is news, but like the whole autopilot turning off less than a second before a crash, that should come with criminal charges. Like, because that is deliberate. That is not a fucking, like, that's like, make sure this shuts off if it knows it's going to hit some shit.
Yep.
So I don't know if there was any part of that article or anything to get through, but.
Well, I can read one little section here. The NHTSA said that it had discovered on 16 separate instances when this occurred that Autopilot aborted vehicle control less than 1 second prior to the first impact, suggesting the driver was not prepared to assume full control of the vehicle. CEO Elon Musk has often claimed that accidents cannot be the fault of the company, as data it extracted invariably showed Autopilot was not active in the moment of the collision. Wasn't us.
Real technicality there.
Nope. We turned it off right before it happened, so it's not on us. We made sure that it wasn't going to be on when the crash happened. So we're completely in the clear, legally speaking.
Yeah. So it's really cool that they're, taking their move fast and break things tech startup culture to public roads, doing beta testing on all of us.
Oh, it does love.
Is an alpha to them whoever survives driving one of their cars? Only the strong survive owning a Tesla.
Oh my God. They also don't like bikers and pedestrians. They'll like veer right into them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Oh, and one more little quick tidbit. Even if you wanted to keep your doors locked, too bad, because some security researchers have found a way to hack the door locks with just off the shelf Bluetooth stuff.
Well, that's not a bug. That's a feature. That's how you get out of the car when it's on fire. You call up your hacker friend.
Oh, and I guess we should also mention, he's also the CEO of Starlink, where they're trying to put all these satellites in orbit to give internet connection across the world, which will probably trigger a Kessler syndrome if anything goes wrong. And at
I
the
was
very
trying to
least,
remember the name of the term, so I'm so glad you actually
Wait,
knew
what
that.
was Kessler syndrome again?
so that's if you have enough stuff in orbit in the same general area, if some of it runs into the other, the debris from that collision
Oh
will
yeah,
just branch out and hit other things and cause a chain reaction. And then you just have a giant cloud of nuts and bolts and debris floating around. And guess what? No one can get into orbit now.
yeah. He's claimed that that's like not possible, and it's just like it's very possible.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of near misses with those fucking satellites. Because imagine Tesla Autopilot in orbit. It's that.
Oh my god.
I imagine Tesla Autopilot in orbit just means that there's like a million ways that it could avoid hitting something, so it just heads straight for it.
But the good news is that the Chinese military is looking into ways of shooting down the Starlink satellites because they're rightly wary of a bunch of satellites overflying their country and maybe causing problems with their rocket launches or whatever. So
Yeah, critical support for the Communist Party of China. Thank you, President Xi.
Uh,
Or chairman or whatever.
This is actually like a big deal story, though. Like, they have specifically come out saying that it was to clean up Starlink satellites, but U.S. authorities are very nervous about the Chinese coming up with technology to remove satellites from orbit.
Yeah, I bet.
as they should be, I guess. But I mean, we don't really have time to go into it, but people have looked into Starlink and even optimistically, this is just a scam. Like, there's no way that they can make this a viable business that actually works.
No.
And at worst, it'll make it so that we can't launch any more satellites ever again.
Yeah, I think the whole system. I can't remember the exact number, but it was it requires 64,000 satellites or more, or that might be the annual launch things that they launch 64,000 a year or something. But it requires tens of thousands of satellites to be up there, and yeah, it's pretty fucking crowded.
I love that we're actually inching towards quantum computing technology, and he's like, no, let's launch 60,000 satellites.
They just let him do it.
The wildest thing to me about him, as a grifter in general, is his whole move seems to be here's this idea I have, I'm putting it into production on the assumption that eventually there will be technology to support this. Is he banking on no, we don't need 64,000 satellites. Actually, we can get away with 25,000 satellites because probably something's going to happen.
I'll find the video and put it in the show notes, but there is someone that actually did the math and figured out how many satellites it would require and how much rocket launches that would require and what that would cost versus what their revenue is, and it's something's missing here because this is not a viable business. So
No.
Hey, welcome back to Cars and Comrades. We had a little technical snafu. The internet went out and lost a couple minutes of our recording, and I'm pretty sure it was the deep state trying to fuck with us because they also got Brandon. He couldn't make it back on the recording, which we are definitely not doing 2 weeks later.
He got black bagged, but surely he won't mention any of that when he's back.
Yeah. So how are you guys doing? Did Do you have anything else to add about? I think we were talking about Starlink and SpaceX on the last
Uh,
recording.
yeah, well, since we definitely didn't record it 2 weeks ago, it's very fresh in my mind. And I totally remember my train of thought, which was basically just like Elon Musk is an idiot and doesn't deserve any money, but he has all the money. So he gets to start companies that solve problems that are already solved in worse ways. He just comes up with terrible solutions to problems. And that's it. That's the whole thing. He fucking sucks.
He's like a Rube Goldberg fucking designer. You're
yeah.
like, dude, what do you stop it?
Like, I just want you to push the button. I don't need to watch the ball roll down the hill for 15 minutes, man. Just push the damn button. Like,
That he paid 15 other engineers to design for him.
yeah.
And
Let's
then
be
took the
clear
credit.
here. Let's be clear here. Yeah, he doesn't design anything that he does. He sometimes has like outlandish ideas and just gets to impose them and like make them constraints. Like the fucking self-driving shit. How it's all reliant on video cameras in Teslas. So stupid. Every other manufacturer uses some blend of, visual cameras and LiDAR, radar, infrared, some other, technology. But nope, he's just like, nah, cameras. That's what we have to use. You're not allowed to use anything else. Is
Also,
it a good
it's
idea?
totally
No.
okay to have a few blind spots.
Yeah,
You got
totally.
enough cameras, a few blind spots are not going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's moronic. I just can't handle it. Every time I think about everything that he does, I'm like, wow, that's so fucking stupid. It's like if a 6-year-old had billions of dollars and got to make decisions.
You know what it's more like? It's more like if you smoking pot as a teenager with your friends, the friend who like goes on about all these big ideas, man, and then just like if you just said you're a fucking genius, here's billions of dollars in investment for all those ideas, go ahead and do it. That's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He just says random shit and like, oh, that would be really cool, man. That's the future, dude.
Yeah.
And then people believe him.
What if we got rid of traffic by making robots drive all our cars? Whoa, that's a great idea, bro. And then you have the one sober guy that's like, that's a train. You're thinking of a train. Guys, listen to me. It's a train. And everyone's just too high to fucking hear that guy say train over and over again.
You know what we need? Tunnels underground that can only fit a single car. 'Cause that won't allow traffic if everyone's in a single file line. And we had like lots of tunnels. Just like there's no traffic because we have lots of roads.
Yeah. It kind of makes me mad how much that makes sense as an explanation for his line of thinking.
Yeah.
I kind of almost think that's how he got to where he got to with the fucking tunnel. He's like, what causes traffic? Lane changes. People, exiting, coming in and out. We just eliminate that. Boom. One forced single file line. Problem solved.
And it goes right to a Tesla dealership next to a combination McDonald's Taco Bell.
Oh, God. Oh, that's a literal nightmare.
Yeah, this is the world we live in.
Well, let's stop talking about Elon Musk. I'm kind of tired of him. So, if y'all hadn't noticed, gas is expensive.
Yeah, you know what? I have noticed that. I have noticed that recently.
Yeah, I think you were saying it's like what, $7 for premium where you are?
Not quite. It is just shy of $7 for premium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I paid I paid like $4.80 I think yesterday. So for regular. So not great. But and lots of people are saying that this is Joe Brandon's fault, of course, or it has something to do with the war in Ukraine, of course. But a large portion of it is just price gouging by the oil companies because they can. And Brandon, while he couldn't be here, did find about a House bill that was passed to crack down on price gouging of gasoline. So this was the Consumer Fuel Price Gouging Prevention Act. would grant the president authority to issue emergency energy proclamations and make it illegal to increase gas and energy prices in excessive and exploitative ways. It would also expand the Federal Trade Commission's power to investigate and address possible price gouging by oil and gas companies. So that passed the House and then died in the Senate, of course, because we can't have nice things.
Sounds about right.
Not
Yeah.
even moderately nice things. Like, if you read that again or remember back to what you just said, it's not like they're saying they're going to put a firm cap on it or like they're going to go after oil and gas companies. No, they're saying they're going to grant the president authority to issue emergency energy proclamations and make it illegal to increase gas and energy prices in excessive and exploitative ways. Well, what does that mean? That's up to interpretation. Well, we can just say, oh, it's not actually excessive or exploitative because of this or that reason, because of our, our lobbyists are telling us, no, that's actually not exploitative. We have a really good reason for it, and it's, supply and demand. It's the market. It's the war in Ukraine. It's
the
something
market
else.
will bear that price.
Exactly.
How can you say it's excessive if literally you're like, well, the market will bear the cost, right? There you go.
Yep. Now it's not exploitive anymore. It's not excessive. We've just justified it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think this bill would have done shit anyway, if I'm being real. It didn't pass, and of course that looks bad, but like I don't even want to give credit to Democrats for this. Like they could have put in a hard cap. Like you can't charge more than $6 a gallon. You just can't. And you should only be like or it could be $5, whatever the fuck it is. Like, hey, you got to take a hit. Oil companies got to take a hit. That's it. And they didn't even put that in the bill, which that wouldn't have passed either, to their credit. Like, wasn't going to pass this way, wasn't going to pass that way. We literally just cannot fix this problem. It is impossible in our current, political economic system. It is not possible to fix.
No.
So,
and
woo.
Yeah, it would have been such a small, like, just almost not even any action, more just a gesture.
They'd maybe,
and we
like,
still couldn't have gotten
fine.
that. Oh my, yeah, it would have been literally next to nothing, but it wouldn't have been actually nothing, and we still couldn't have gotten that. So, sorry to be doomer about it, but goddamn, it's really frustrating when even the most mild things will not get passed.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a doomer kind of week, what with the Supreme Court, being all fascist and everything. But
oh boy, yeah.
Oh no, hold on. We're not recording 2 weeks later. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I mean,
tune into the next episode.
Yeah. But
yeah, it was. We're recording the week after the worst Supreme Court week you can imagine. So you know what week that is.
Yeah, and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there will be even a worse Supreme Court week, in the future.
I suspect. So. Yeah, soon. Coming right up.
Yeah. Worst Supreme Court week so far.
That's what I meant. Yes.
Boy, just you wait until the Republicans pack the court.
Yeah.
Soon we're gonna start seeing like 9-3 decisions.
Oh
yeah. Well, I'm gonna vote so hard this fall. No. But there is a I think I might have mentioned this, but there's a YouTube channel called Climate Town, and they have a really good breakdown of why what causes gas prices. What goes into the price that you pay is from anywhere from the the cost to get the oil out of the ground and refine it, the taxes that go onto it, and then of course whatever profit the oil companies are pulling out. So if you want to nerd out on that, I'd go check that out. And it's a good channel overall for like climate related stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely watched a lot of their stuff, and that one specifically as well. Very informative.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out.
But moving on, Connor, you wanted to talk about some false advertising that Ford was doing, or got caught doing, I guess.
They were caught, and I had the article up, and I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. So, yeah, this one actually affects Ford, and they were lying. Essentially, they were caught lying about fuel economy and I think torque specs on some of their trucks. So, of course, I mean, they're just making up numbers to sell cars, which is totally allowed under capitalism. You will find that they got a fine for this, but and it sounds big, $19.2 million. However, to Ford Motor Company, it's kind of a slap on the wrist.
What is
Not
that, like
even.
maybe a day of sales?
Yeah,
At most?
I mean, yeah, it's not much.
Yeah, that's
They,
not.
as far as I can tell, they get away with it. But anyway, so Ford Motor Company will pay $19.2 million to resolve allegations it falsely advertised real-world fuel economy and payload capacity for some hybrids and pickup trucks. The Iowa Attorney General's office said on Tuesday, and this article was from May 24th. The this covers 2013 to 2014. Wow, it took them a long time to figure this out. Jesus. 2013 to 2014 C-Max hybrids and 2011 to 2014 Super Duty pickups. In 2013, Ford lowered the advertised fuel economy ratings on its C-Max hybrid by up to 7 miles per gallon and sent checks to owners of $550 to make up the difference in fuel costs. Okay, hold on. So it lowered the advertised fuel economy after the settlement, I presume,
In what
by
year?
up to 7 miles per gallon.
Holy shit, that's like a lot.
That's not fudging it. That's not 1 or 2 mpg. That's fucking
What?
Jesus.
What year was this? That they did that?
2013.
2013 or 2014, yeah. So
Oh my
so I don't know if
God.
this is like this was finally settled just now or what, but yeah. So they sent $550 to people, and you're like, the fuck, man, that ain't
Doing-
shit.
Doing some quick conversions in today's economy, that $550 would equal $1 million worth of gasoline.
Unreal. So he continues on here. For years, Ford advertised impressive fuel economy and payload capacity for its cars and trucks, Iowa Attorney General blah 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 said. Unfortunately, these figures were not based in reality, leaving customers with vehicles that did not meet their standards. The settlement, with 40 states and the District of Columbia, prohibits Ford from making false or misleading advertising claims concerning estimated fuel economy or payload capacity of a new motor vehicle. Ford did not admit wrongdoing. It's amazing. Okay, we didn't do anything wrong though. Also, I love that. Okay, we won't make these specific lies in the future on these specific vehicles. Okay.
Yeah. So Zach, you might want to check. Wait for the Consumer Reports test on the Ford Maverick before you buy one.
Yeah,
they
that's
might
all
be.
I've been thinking about this whole time. Like, God,
They might be
damn
fudging
it.
the numbers there a little.
Well, yeah, but it'll probably take 8 years before you fucking know.
Right.
So Ford said it was pleased the issue was closed without any judicial finding of improper conduct. Isn't that nice? Good for Ford. We worked with the states to resolve their concerns, and in the process limited additional investigative costs and legal expenses for all parties. Wow. So we worked with states we addressed their concerns with our lying about fuel economy and towing capacity. I understand that they were offended, but we addressed it.
I like how they say the state's concerns.
Yeah.
Not like the people, not the consumers. They didn't even go that far. Like, nah, fuck them. I mean,
Oh my god.
we talked to the states about it.
Ford misrepresented the distance consumers could drive on 1 tank of gas, asserted driving style would not influence vehicles' real-world fuel economy, and claimed superior real-world fuel economy compared to other hybrids. Acting New Jersey attorney so-and-so said. Platkin, who is the guy I just said was so-and-so. I'm just going to read the name now. Platkin said Ford ran deceptive advertisements called the hybrid games, narrated like an Olympic sport that depicted the Ford C-Max outperforming the Toyota Prius in a series of videos. Toyota declined to comment. Why? That seems like a real good opportunity to comment. Again, who's running these capitalist institutions? Like, this would be a great time to come in and be like, yeah, fuck that. They were lying. We're great.
I really wish, competition between car companies was more like pro wrestling, and they would like,
Yes.
call each other out and stuff.
That would be good. The states allege that Ford used a deceptive methodology for reclaiming the best-in-class payload capacity after other trucks had surpassed Ford. By the way, if anyone doesn't know, when it comes to advertising, I'm talking kind of out of my ass here, so I'm not drawing from a specific article or something. But as it's been explained to me, you can't easily say we're better than this specific competitor unless you have real hard evidence that that's true. And you're making a very specific claim, like we have more horsepower than Chevy or whatever. But you can say we're the best. We're the best pizza in the world. We are the best automaker ever. World's best truck, right? You can say that. It's absurd. Doesn't make you're like, what? But that's why when you go shopping anywhere, you're in the store and everything is the world's best. Our world famous ribs. Okay, look it. Nobody outside your fucking town has tried those ribs. Nobody. they cannot be world's best. There's just no regulation of it. So everyone gets to just say their best. And I find that funny and absurd, but it's they're using just they're fudging numbers and just being like, yeah, we're the best and we can beat these competitors, and it's all bullshit. So in in calculating the maximum payload capacity of its vehicles, the investigation found Ford employed a truck configuration it did not actually intend to sell to individual buyers. One that omitted such standard items as the spare wheel, tire and jack, radio, and center console, which was replaced by a mini console. Oh, nice. As a result, Ford was able to add additional pounds to the maximum advertisable payload capacity of its Super Duty truck, just enough for Ford to reclaim the title of best in class for payload. In 2021, Ford 12,000 2020 F-350 trucks, because they had incorrect... Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yes, I think there's a word missing there.
Yeah, what the fuck is this sentence trying to say?
Yeah,
I'm looking right at it. I'm confused.
Wow, this is from Reuters. Jesus Christ, people. I don't even know what the missing word is. This is just woof. All right, so 12,000 2020 F-350 trucks were probably, I don't know, recalled or something or other because they had incorrect payload values. The automaker said a study found that they may have overstated by 78 to 900 pounds.
That's a big range there.
Yeah, that's quite a range. That's
how much I weigh, is between 78 and 900 pounds. I'm going to put that on my dating profile.
That is the end of the article. No conclusion, no nothing, just hard out right there. So good writing, Reuters. That was good. Boy, it seems like anybody could be a journalist these days. But yeah, that's the Ford false advertising thing. They lied a bunch, and they worked it out with the states, who were offended by their lies. It's all good now. They won't do it again for those specific models with those specific claims.
I want to just go back real quick. I feel like I heard you say at one point that they said that driving style would not affect...
Yes.
Yeah, what is this? Asserted driving style would not influence vehicles' real-world fuel economy. Okay.
Now,
sure.
By the way, when I was reading that's sounds like the statements they were making after the settlement. So I'm like, are they claiming that still, or is that one of the claims that you could drive this however you want, it won't change? And it's one, we all know that ain't true.
That's
you drive
absurd.
a car and you drive fast. Come on, that you can watch that needle fucking drop. So, yeah, I don't... Oh, okay, so here. Yeah, this is in the past tense. Ford misrepresented the distance consumers could drive on one tank of gas, asserted driving style would not influence vehicles' real-world fuel economy, and claims superior real-world fuel economy compared to other hybrids. So yeah, they said, I guess this is a weird assertion to even make. You can drive like a maniac and it won't change your range. And it's like, it's just physics.
physically impossible. Like if I'm stamping on the gas, it doesn't matter if it's a gas, a diesel, hybrid, full electric, like it's just going to use more energy.
No, it's okay. It's a perpetual motion truck or hybrid, a perpetual motion hybrid in which you can get more physical work out of it without depleting or using any extra energy. It's totally possible.
Oh my god! So they can just say whatever then. All right, that's cool.
I also
no
I'm like,
consequences.
how does it take
Fine.
8 years? Like a claim like that, I'm just like, that's absurd on its face. Like that's just a lie on its face. You don't even need to do an investigation. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, perpetual motion machines don't exist, so this is impossible. FTC, where you at?
Yeah, fucking insane.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, so capitalism strikes again, I guess.
Yep.
Oh boy. All right, what other great news do we have to talk about?
Well, I guess this is a step in the right direction. The City Council of Washington, D.C. is increasing the registration fees for heavy-duty trucks, basically as a way to mitigate damage to pavement because, bigger vehicles cause more damage to roads. And so they're increasing the registration fees for any vehicle that weighs over 6,000 pounds to at least $500 per year.
Oh shit, that might even include the Dodge Challengers and Chargers. Not quite, but it's close. It's way closer than you think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're right on the cusp, that's for sure.
So Mary Che, a DC council member, says you can't ban sales of these things, which I say, why not?
Yeah, fucking do it. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And this is to fight something.
Yeah, hold on. They have banned the sale of like so many things. I can't go and buy any drug that I want.
Right.
They can ban that. What the fuck? We can't ban this. Get out of here. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out that there are lots of fucking things that are banned.
Everyone knows that an illegal underground black market for really heavy pickups would spring up as soon as they banned it.
That's true. That's true.
Then only outlaws would have heavy-duty trucks.
Only those criminal contractors, for the most part.
Only outlaws already have heavy-duty pickups. You know what I'm saying? America. Sorry. Okay. Let's move on.
But yeah, they're trying to sort of fight what is called truck bloat, which is the trend of pickup trucks to get bigger and heavier, which I'm sure you've all seen. Like the new Silverado has a hood that's so tall that you can't see like children or basically anyone under 5 foot tall. That if they're in front of you.
Literally, they wouldn't be. I don't even think they'd be able to see my car.
Yeah.
If I'm anywhere near close to them, like they wouldn't see my car. Like in a parking lot, they might drive over me.
Yeah, I really don't understand the need to have a gigantic truck. But
there is not a need.
Yeah.
There is a certain. This is again like everything else. It goes back to economics in a capitalist system. If the like fuel economy standards that are enforced on companies they kind of like get what's the word? They get less and less stringent as cars get bigger. So like the standard applied to a small subcompact car is going to be a lot different than like an enormous pickup truck. So if you can't meet the fuel economy standards, the thing to do is just make the car bigger. So in like Donut Media did a video on like why cars in general are getting bigger, which like your modern sedan next to an old SUV, you're like, what the fuck? Those are the same ass size. And they are, because as they get bigger, they are in it like puts them into a different fuel economy bracket.
Okay.
So, there's more. I mean, there's more to it than that. Like, American consumers are stupid, and we like big, giant vehicles because we want to like feel like we're in a living room driving down the road. But one of the big things is meeting fuel economy standards is bigger if you make the vehicle larger.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, I knew there was
yay.
some kind of loophole like that. Basically I know a lot of these are like considered like commercial vehicles, and they're not fitting into the standard fuel economy standards or whatever. I think they did that like with the Chrysler PT Cruiser when that came out. It was considered a truck because it
Yeah.
had like more cargo space or whatever.
Yep.
So it didn't have to fit into the car fuel economy standards.
Yeah. I'm sure there's also a certain aspect of like toxic masculinity involved here too. Like, the bigger your truck, the more manly, the more you piss off the libs or whatever. So
Yeah.
definitely some of that too.
I don't know. I see so many people commuting by themselves in these giant trucks, and I'm like, what are you doing? What, you're going to an office. You don't need a truck. You're not going to tow anything. You're not going to haul anything to your office job. Just fucking get a little small hatchback or something.
Yeah, in our post-revolution world, I feel like these trucks should be entirely banned unless you have a specific commercial need, or we could have like a state-run truck rental thing. Oh, you got to tow your boat? Come to the state-controlled, truck rental where you can rent a truck to pull that shit, and then that's it. It's
I
like,
mean,
you know,
shit, we just have boat rental at the place you're taking the boat to.
Well,
I was
that would
gonna
also.
say.
Well, there's gosh, there's oh boy, I totally just lost my train of thought, and I totally had some, I swear. Nope, I lost it. It's gone forever. Sorry, I interrupted you for nothing.
It's all good. Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, that's all I have to say about this story. I mean, it's a step in the right direction, but it could go further, and it's just a little Band-Aid in our capitalist hellscape that we live in.
That, and I mean, I feel like the amount, I think it was like, it increases it by $500, which my critique of that is you should have made it minimum $1,000 to $2,000. Here's why. Because the people buying these trucks are going to bitch and moan about the $500 that they're going to pay on their $80,000 to $90,000 truck. And it's just kind of like, this ain't shit to you. Like, this literally drop in the bucket, but they're going to bitch and moan about it. And it's like, look, if they're going to bitch and moan about you raising taxes, fucking raise taxes. Like, actually make some goddamn money out of it. Because $500 for your registration, it's just not going to do it. So, yeah, it should be $1,000 or $2,000. Oh, yeah, well, your $90,000 truck, I mean, I think you can afford it. So, yeah, this is like enough for people to complain about, but not enough to actually be worth doing is my problem. Once again, Democrats trying to, I don't know, find this bizarre middle position.
Yep. But Connor, you wanted to talk about Carvana, right? Or was there something else that we had?
There was just a story about Carvana, and Carvana is. They could, I mean, one of these days maybe we'll do an episode about it. But if you're curious to learn more about Carvana, I really highly recommend checking out the podcast Eat the Rich.
Yes.
Because they did a huge deep dive on Carvana, how they started, where they come from, which it's a scam. It's been a scam the whole time. Everything about it, the family that like owns it, scammers to the fucking core. So they will go. There's a deep dive about that is very worth checking out. But this is a recent story. Carvana to lay off 2,500, and then semicolon, right? So it's going to lay off 2,500 people. Executives to forego salaries for the rest of the year. Whatever. A bunch of, they're very rich. Don't worry about them. Don't shed a tear for these people. The online used car retailer is laying off 12% of its workforce. Now, of course, this is largely in response to the fact that they're a scam. And people aren't falling for the scam anymore. We'll see if this gets into it. I don't know. But like, and I have to I'm not 100% sure of this, but my partner was telling me, a while ago, they're not even allowed to sell cars in Illinois anymore, as far as I'm aware. Which they're apparently in my town building. They were like almost done with this like enormous car warehouse thing that, like, of course the city gave absurd tax breaks and shit to.
Right.
And it's in Schaumburg, Illinois, and they like it was like a $90 million project or something, and they gave them a sweetheart deal to bring the business here. And then it became apparent that like a court said like, okay, you can't sell cars in Illinois anymore because they were like just straight up not giving people their license plates or the titles to these vehicles for like years at a time. And it's like, so these people, like, they'll drop off the fucking car, you'll have to pay for it, but you won't be able to register it or drive it or do anything with it. It's a big old fucking paperweight in your driveway.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these local news stories that I found that were just the same story. It's like, oh, I thought it was a great deal on a car, and then they fucked up the paperwork. They gave me a title from another state, or like, oh, guess what? This car has been stolen or totaled or whatever. It's not. They misrepresented what the car was.
Yeah, pretty much every possible thing that like you could like every shady thing you could do in a used car sale, Carvana has done.
Yeah, like they try to act like they're this like new modern like Web 2.0 business that's like takes all the hassle out of buying a car, but it's the same old shady bullshit that you get at any used car dealership.
Yeah, by the way, they bill this as like a good idea, but like I feel like if you're listening to our show, you should understand this already, but if you don't, you should always fucking drive a car before you buy it. New, used, doesn't matter. Although, way more important with a used car. Drive the fucking car. Look under the hood, because shit is wrong all the fucking time. Yeah. All the fucking time. These assholes will just be like, oh, we towed it over here. It works. Trust us. Give us our money. Yeah. Run the fuck away. Do not buy a vehicle that you have not fucking test driven. And I know they say, oh, you can return it after X amount of time if you don't like it. Bullshit. I guarantee you. Yes, they probably technically have this policy, but they are not going to make it easy. They're going to fuck it up. They're going to
lose your email. They're going to miss your call,
Yep. We don't have any drivers in your area this week. Oh, you're just going to have to hang on to it for another day. And then the minute it's late, they're going to be like, you waited too long, folks. It's over. You're going to have to pay the like cancellation fee like we do with a fucking timeshare or whatever. Yeah, it's a scam, top to bottom. Yeah, so
it is very similar to a timeshare in that you will never actually get to use the thing you're paying for. And you'll just be out a bunch of money. I mean, one of the riskiest ways to buy a car is sight unseen. People literally talk about it like, there was the one in the country. I just had to have it. Sight unseen, off the internet. That was crazy, right? Oh, let's make a YouTube video about it because it's so nuts that I did that. They just made a business out of that. Like, yeah, buy a car, sight unseen. It's normal. Totally. We'll get you some grainy photos on your fucking smartphone that you can look at. That's a good way to decide whether you should spend $10,000 or more on this fucking vehicle.
Isn't that what I know this is wild to just bring this up randomly on the show with no prior research, but isn't that what Bring a Trailer is? Like,
I mean, that's more of an auction thing. It's like eBay or whatever.
I am seeing like wild ass where you're just like, what the? Oh yeah, this like here we have this old Honda Civic that someone didn't drive for some fucking reason, even though there's nothing collectible about it. But it just sold for like $86,000, and you're like, why?
Yeah,
I don't know. Bring a Trailer seems fucking crazy to me.
That would be its own episode almost. Just like I there's something going on with that website, and I don't have the knowledge to say.
All right, well, I know there's at least one listener, Shirley, who is keeping a list of all the topics we randomly bring up on the show that we're going to do a future episode about. Write this one down.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that Carvana is having all these troubles, but they're still building a dealership in Denver at like I-25 and Evans. They're building that big old glass tower that they call a car vending machine.
Oh yeah, yeah. They love the. It's like they have these ideas for like a novelty. You're like, this is like a gag. That's like funny once, and then you're just like, okay, I don't actually like. I could just like look at the car on the ground. I don't actually need to like see it come down an elevator.
Yeah, a car vending machine should be like a throwaway joke in Futurama.
Yes.
A real thing that we've given millions of dollars of tax breaks towards making.
But it's so efficient. Zach, it's so efficient to like have the cars come on a cool elevator with, I don't know, presumably lights and shit. I don't know. It's just bonkers. So let me run through this a little bit, this article here. Carvana Company plans to lay off 2,500 employees, or about 12% of its workforce, according to a document it filed Tuesday. And I should note this is an article from May 10th, because we have never been all that current on our news episodes. But hey, we're just a bunch of amateurs here.
We're going like 19th century news where it's via telegraph or something.
So they filed this with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. Those employees are primarily in Carvana's operations groups, the company said. So operations usually means the working people, like the people who actually do the physical work that gets shit done. Usually that's under operations. In connection to those cuts, the online used vehicle retailer will transition operations away from a few of its logistical hubs and from its inspection and reconditioning center of Euclid, Ohio. Carvana said its executive team will forego their salaries for the rest of 2022 to help contribute to the severance pay for departing team members. We believe these decisions, while extremely difficult, will result in Carvana restoring a better balance between its sales volumes and staffing levels and facilitate Carvana returning to blah, 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 blah. They got fucked by, like, states are not, like, allowing them to sell. They're losing business. People know it's a scam. That's what's really going on. The layoffs relate to recent macroeconomic factors that are significantly impacting automotive retail. Oh, is that so? Sure. Anyway, that's from a Carvana spokesperson. They come just weeks after Carvana reported a $506 million loss in the first quarter. Ooh, I thought that was going to be a year. 506 million loss in the first quarter as high used vehicle prices, rising interest rates, and other issues affecting the auto industry dented sales. It felt higher costs and lower profit per vehicle than expected. It's not just Carvana taking a hit in the tumultuous market. Digital retail companies that received a long period of boosted sales and elevated customer interest during the COVID-19 pandemic are now seeing some cool down, and it's reflecting in their earnings. Vroom Inc., one of Carvana's competitors. Oh, Jesus, I didn't know they had a competitor. Vroom Inc., one of Carvana's competitors in the online used retail space, on Monday said it would consider a workforce reduction as part of a larger plan to realign its business strategy and boost gross profit per vehicle sold. Vroom also appointed a new CEO. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're another scam company, probably doing scams and probably having to like deal with the consequences of being a scam company.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know. The podcast Trash Future covers a lot of these like tech startups that are like, it seems like a cool shiny new gadget way of doing business or whatever, but really it's just the same old bullshit, and they just have a website or an app or whatever, or they have an automated thing, but it's just some guy in Colombia, doing it remotely or whatever. So this seems like just another one of those deals.
Pretty much. The company on Tuesday finalized its $2.2 billion acquisition of ADESA, ADESA US, the nation's number 2 auction house that I've never fucking heard of. Okay, whatever. Okay, and then the section entitled Analyst Insights. We'll see if there's any insight here. The layoffs are the first step taken as part of Carvana's plan to pare costs amid challenging sales, Stevens Inc. Analyst Daniel Imbro said in a research note. Okay. Affordability could remain troublesome for Carvana, and more cost-cutting could happen in the coming weeks. Nice. While this reduction should help with cash burn, we believe it is a recognition that these headwinds may not pass as quickly as hoped. Spoiler alert, they did not. As we were talking about the upcoming recession that is all but guaranteed at this point. Yeah, it's going to be bad. A recession in which everything is crazy expensive. It's great.
Yeah, good old stagflation, bringing us back to the 70s.
Yeah, who says history doesn't repeat itself? Carvana said it would post more details about its operating plan to its investor relations website later this week. Carvana said the laid off employees will get 4 weeks of pay. Wow, when they said severance, I thought they meant I thought they actually meant some kind of fucking severance. Oh my god, okay. They'll get 4 weeks of pay plus an extra week for every year they have been with the company. Which is probably not much. They're a tech startup, so they probably burn through employees real fucking quick. So,
also, how long has Carvana been a company? Like 4 years? Like,
yeah,
you got 4 max.
But and if anybody was like, oh, actually they're 8 years old, okay, maybe, but like no one's
that's not the point.
No one's heard of them before this. So, Carvana stock has fallen from the $376 high it reached last August to less than $40 as of Tuesday. Ouch. That's bad. Most recently, shares slipped 1.6% to 38.12. So, yeah, they're not doing great. Another, innovative, disruptive, entrepreneur company is in the fucking toilet because it's a scam. So, scams galore. Gotta love it. Cars are like, in the past 15 years, the automotive industry has just really become rife with more scams than usual. Like, way more.
Yeah. I looked it up. They're a 10-year-old company. But
boo. Oh, Brian, you weren't supposed to be the one to go, well, actually, on our show.
I'm sorry. Continue.
I prefer to think they're 4 years old max.
How dare you ruin my joke with your facts?
Especially with Brandon gone, we need every fucking joke we have. We need these to land, Bryant. But anyway, that's the Carvana story.
Yeah. Let's see. Did we have anything else to talk about?
I think so, but I feel like this is a good place to leave it. We talked about capitalism and scams, and those are pretty much the same thing, and a bunch of Elon Musk news, and he sucks. So
yeah,
kind of feel like we've covered our bases there.
And I'm pretty sure with the footage that we lost, with the recording that we lost, and the recording that we do have, we'll have about an hour-ish. So that's pretty good, I think.
That's pretty good. I mean, we're the only serious socialist car podcast, so I think the listeners will have to do with that. We're like a monopoly, so can't go anywhere else. Although seriously though, please don't go anywhere else. And if you like our show, you should give us a good rating and follow us on social media and stuff.
Yeah, and send us news stories for the next episode, and we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Only if they're really old, though.
Yeah.
We don't do new news. This is old news only.
Yeah, nothing too current. We don't want to take any risky, stances on anything. So we prefer uncontroversial news that's old enough that we can have good talking points on.
Yeah, from at least 2010 or earlier, if you can.
See, that's why I thought Carvana was only 4 years old. I'm living in 2018, man.
Speaking of old news, I started reading Unsafe at Any Speed, so
nice.
That'll be a future episode book report.
Okay, whoever's writing these down, write it down, listener. Whoever's keeping track of all our
Hold
random...
me to it.
None of us are going to do it. We leave it up to you.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's all we got for today, and we'll see you in 2 weeks or in 20 minutes when we start recording the next episode. I mean, whatever.
Bye.
Bye.
Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should. You're lucky that 100 shot of NOS didn't blow the welds on the intake. Now me and the mad scientist got to rip apart the block and replace the piston rings you fried.
The free market mythology, it argues that the most ruthless, selfish, opportunistic, greedy, calculating plunderers, applying the most heartless measures in cold-blooded pursuit of corporate interests and wealth accumulation, will produce the best results for all of us. Through something called the invisible hand.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Over the last century, the U.S. government has done everything in its power to snuff out alternatives to its rule. From roundups to mass arrests of thousands of anarchists, socialists, leftists in the U.S., making it illegal to even be a communist, to carrying out military interventions in over 70 nations just since World War II, causing untold human misery, all in the name of fighting ideas.
What are you smiling about?
Dude, I almost had you.